calls those of us who are in support of Proposition 187 racist immigrant bashers. I say we must end services to illegal immigrants.
Prop 187 helped Pete Wilson win re-election as governor back in 1994. It prohibited undocumented immigrants from using health care or going to school.
The California Immigrant Policy Center came about as a reaction to the anti-immigrant laws, especially Prop 187. We were originally founded by a collaborative of 4 organizations at the state and a regional level, and that was the beginnings of CIPC, trying to figure out how can we create a robust statewide entity that will look at a broad immigrant rights and immigrant justice agenda in California.
When I first came to CIPC in the early 2000s, California was really a hostile anti-immigrant landscape. Obviously, it was some years after Prop 187. The governor was not particularly pro-immigrant or amenable to pro-immigrant policies. It was also, really challenging in terms of the voices across the state. There weren't really a lot of organizations in places outside of LA and the Bay Area.
When we participated in Immigrant Day, it was basically because we were facing an onslaught of anti-immigrant legislation following Proposition 187 in 1994, and then afterwards in 1996 with other bad legislation. And this has been an opportunity where people from across the state, immigrants, refugees, and allies come together to wield their collective power and influence policymaking in a way that supports the rights of immigrants and refugees from the state of California.
I can honestly say CIPC was one of the statewide organizations that really gave us that exposure, and not just in regards to being steering committee members with CIPC, but also channeling funding for the growth of very small coalitions like ours in the Inland Empire. And I will see very similar things with other coalitions in the Central Valley, way up north in California, and even places like Orange County, LA County, of small groups and coalitions that we're developing. So it speaks volumes of their principles and what they really want for a better California by developing the growth of these small coalitions.
When I came to CIPC in June of 2011, it was a small organization of only 6 people, and since that time we've grown to an organization of 13. And I think in those first years, I think our work was very focused on healthcare and public benefits, and since that time I think it has grown into a very dynamic set of work that crosses many different issue areas.
In the last 5 years, we have had this amazing legislative framework, starting with the California DREAM Act, the Trust Act, the AB 60 or the driver's license bill, and most recently the Health for All campaign, which has resulted into this groundbreaking law around providing comprehensive medical for undocumented children.
AB 60 was definitely something that has allowed a lot of people to not only drive, but to lose that fear that the folks have when they go pick up their kids or on their way to work, on their way home. And CIPC definitely took a leadership role in that, and they allowed for the steering committee and the rest of the coalitions that were part of CIPC to also take a big initiative.
I think some of the highest profile, of course, have been the Trust Act, which really was a very diverse coalition of organizations across the state, faith-based groups, immigrant rights groups, families whose loved ones had been detained and deported, really stepping into the limelight and putting themselves at risk in order to advocate for this really important law.
By really being in touch with people on the ground in impacted communities and working with our regional and local partners as part of our steering committee, it really has given us the ability to really get the pulse of where the community is on various issues and really get us to have a strong understanding of what people want to see as solutions.
One of the critical pieces of CIPC's work is, and will continue to be, to create a more inclusive California. And we are able to do that by working together with our allies, working together directly with immigrant communities, because we all realize that when we move forward together is when we can make change.